This past Saturday, the Raiders women's and men's basketball teams traveled to Thomas Fieldhouse in Lock Haven to take on the Bald Eagles. First, the women's team would take the courts, starting out with a free throw made by Abby Miller. The Raiders would trail much of the first quarter, mainly only scoring free throws. In the second quarter, they would get the gears moving after an and one made by Ariel Jones. They would get their first lead of the game via a Treasure George 3 and would swap the lead with the Bald Eagles twice before the end of the second quarter, with the score being 28-26 and the Raiders in the lead. At the start of the third quarter, the Raiders would go on an 11-4 run thanks to Ariel Jones and Lauren Pettis. They would continue to keep the lead all the way through the end of the third quarter, with it going as high as 17 points entering the fourth. The trend would continue into the fourth quarter, where the Raiders would lead by as high as 20 points throughout the remainder of the game, where a three-pointer by Treasure George, with 1:28 left, sealed the deal in the 73-59 victory for the Raiders. In the victory for the women's team, Ariel Jones led the team in points with a massive 27, while also having 8 rebounds and 4 steals. Jones was followed closely behind by Treasure George and Lauren Pettis with 15 and 16 points apiece. After the women's team brought home a Raider victory, the men's team looked to do the same. After being close through much of the first half between the two respective teams, the Raiders were able to start pulling away after a Lock Haven Eurostep layup by Justice Schultz. It was all Raiders from there, where they would go on to extend their 19-15 lead by going on a 10-0 run with 6 minutes left in the first half, thanks to Carlos Carter and Dom Sleva scoring 5 apiece during the run. The Raiders would keep their foot on the gas through the rest of the first half, letting the Eagles only get as close as 9 points away from tying the game entering the half, where the Raiders would lead 34-25 entering the second half of play. Entering the half, the Raiders would lead in all major stat categories with 5 assists, 22 rebounds, and also 5 steals. The second half would be much of the same for the Raiders, as they would not give the lead back to the Bald Eagles. The Raiders would lead by as much as 19 en route to a sweep at Lock Haven for the Raiders, with Carlos Carter leading the team in points with 22, and Dom Sleva dominating defensively and on the glass with 13 rebounds and 6 steals in the 72-61 victory. Next, the Raiders will be traveling to East Stroudsburg this Saturday in PSAC East action, as both the women's and men's team look to keep a hold of the top spot in the division. The Raiders will then come home next Monday to go up against Westchester University at Highest Fieldhouse, where you can catch the game live on SUTV Sports. That's all from me. For SUTV Sports, I'm Austin Briner.